climate can be described by year after year patterns of temperature and precipitation. Now continue watching this video to see what Lake Norman Christian School's ecosystem is. The climate in Davidson would be 44 inches of rainfall and about half an inch of snow. The temperature is an average of 62 degrees for the year. Weather is the day-to-day conditions of the Earth's atmosphere. For example, today it could be 54 degrees and partly cloudy, and tomorrow it might be 61 degrees and sunny. Sometimes these climates can change over small distances. This is called a microclimate. An example of this could be the north side of the building compared to the other sides. When it snows, it usually takes longer for that side to melt. Niche, tolerance, habitat, resources, and competition. A niche is all the physical and biological conditions in an ecosystem, and the ways an organism finds and obtains what it needs to survive and reproduce. An example of this could be honeybees pollinating flowers. Another example would be worm decomposing dead plants and animals. Tolerance is the ability to survive and reproduce under a range of environmental conditions. A common example of tolerance in an ecosystem would be a plant's tolerance for water. If a plant has too much water, it could die, and if a plant does not have enough water, it could die. A habitat is a place where an animal lives. An example of a habitat in a temperate forest could be a fox squirrel living in a Carolina silver-belled tree. Resources are an organism's necessities for life. Examples of resources could be food, water, shelter, nutrients, and soil. Competition is when an organism tries to use the same limited resources at the same place and time. White-tailed deer are very common in North Carolina and often compete for resources. Competitive exclusion principle also relates to competition in an ecosystem, stating that two species cannot occupy the same niche in the same habitat. Predation, herbivory, and keystone species. Predation is when one animal preys on another animal. Coyote often prey on white-tailed deer and other animals in the area. Herbivory is when a species eats plants. A rabbit eating carrots and other vegetables would be an example of herbivory. A keystone species that is extremely important to the community. These species are not very plentiful. A keystone species is in a timber forest would be the white-tailed deer. Its job to eat certain plants to keep them from overpopulating. Symbiosis, mutualism, communalism, and parasitism. Symbiosis is a relative between two organisms before different species live close together. There are three types of this. In mutualism, both organisms benefit and neither is harmed. A relationship between a bird and a deer is mutualism. The bird eats the insects off the deer's back and the deer becomes free of insects. In communalism, one organism benefits while the other is neither harmed nor helped. A squirrel uses a tree for shelter and protection, and the tree is not harmed. In parasitism, a parasite lives in or on and benefits from the host. An example of parasitism in a timber forest is the relationship between a tapeworm and an animal. Primary succession, secondary succession, and pioneer species in climax community. Primary succession occurs in one area where there is no trace of a previous community. This succession can start with nothing, then lead to weeds, then to mosses, then shrubs, and eventually hardwood trees. Secondary succession occurs in an area that has only partially destroyed, still a trace of the previous community. And examples of this could be a forest being destroyed by a forest fire. Pioneer species are plants that grow first in an area that has nothing left. Pioneer species examples include moss, bacteria, lichens, and fungi. Climax community is the final stage in succession, where the community is back to its original state before the disaster. Climax community would have large trees and lots of greenery. Timber forest, humus, coniferous tree, deciduous tree. The temperate forest biome is very unique, consisting of cold to moderate winters, warm summers, and year-round precipitation. This biome can be found right here behind the soccer field of our school. Humus is found in timber forest and is formed of decaying leaves and organic matter. Coniferous trees are trees with cones bearing seeds inside them. A spruce tree is a type of coniferous tree. Deciduous trees are trees that lose their leaves seasonally. An oak tree is a type of deciduous tree. Freshwater ecosystem. Freshwater ecosystem include lakes, rivers, streams, ponds, and wetlands. Thanks for watching. We hope you learn more about the biome and ecosystem surrounding Lake Norman Christian School.
Start that. Our ecosystem at Lake Normal. Our ecosystem at Lake Normal Christian School is.